Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm doing a Sacred Beast test hand video. So I'm really excited for this one because this deck is just been released for the structure deck, and I promised you guys that I would actually do a test hand video of this because we've already done a structure deck opening, a deck profile of this, and we also did a $30 budget build on the channel as well. If you guys want to see the deck profile of this, it is going to be down in the description below, which is going to be a really awesome deck profile of this. But without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below because we have some awesome rewards for you guys, like getting your name in the description for every single video, getting a signed card sent to the mail, or even getting your requested deck profile just like this one every single month that you are a patron. So without further ado, guys, let's get straight on into this. So I'm really excited for this deck because this deck is like something that actually made me go back and rewatch part of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX to where these monsters actually were summoned, because it was just such an awesome thing. And I looked at the cards and I was like, oh, that really, yeah, okay. The Spirit Gates, like the Spirit Gates are actually a card. And the way that the Awakening of the Sacred Beast, the card, the trap card, it's actually them taking the souls of the spirits of the cards, like the Ojama Yellow, Wing Karibo, all different ones that were in the anime. It's really cool that they actually made all of the cards that were significant events in the actual show into the deck, into different cards, which is really cool. And they actually gave the anime effects to the cards, like the Simmering, Scraper, Cerulean Skyfire, and Hyper Blaze. That's actually the attacks of the Sacred Beast that they actually made their anime effects go into the trap, the spell, and the monster for the different respective Sacred Beasts to make them into cards, which is really cool. I love that the way that they've actually executed this deck, because it won second place on the poll, and I didn't think that they were going to actually make any more cards for this archetype because it was a really cool nostalgic deck, but at the same time it was kind of like one of those, does it really need anything else? And then they've done this in this year, and they've also done the God cards, which is insane that they've done both of them in the same year. So let's go ahead and do some draw test hands and see what we can draw and see what we can play out. Now, I will mention you guys, this deck does a lot of drawing, so you might see the first draw test hands and say, okay, we can draw here, here, and here. So we're going to go ahead and draw, and we get an Upstart Goblin right off the bat because they're on 39 card decks, not bad. Dark Summoning Beast, really good card. That is really dark on that Dark Summoning Beast, but it's just a really dark card. Deck Lockdown is a little personal tech that I threw in here because it's a really neat card that basically Ash Blossoms your opponent for 2 turns, which we drew 2 of them. And we're going to draw into a Pot of Desire. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what we're going to draw off the copy of Upstart Goblin. So we're immediately going to draw into an Exodios, which is not terrible. And then if we drop the Desires, we're going to banish 10 cards off the top of the deck, which is going to be these right here, and then these right here. As you guys know, I'm not a super big fan of Pot of Desires, but hey, it works in this deck. So we're going to draw into a Raviel and an Exodios. So this is not too great of a hand. You can actually stop your opponent with this, but if we're going second and we would get that extra card, it would be an Allure of Darkness. So we dropped the Allure and we drew 2 more. We would get a Desires and we get a 1-for-1, which would get us some plays going. So you usually want to go second with Sacred Beasts anyways, unless you're trying to get for the lockdown where you're getting Cerulean Skyfire and your copy of Awakening of the Spirit Beasts or Sacred Beasts on your side of the field as quickly as possible, which is usually what you want to do. But sometimes you want to go in and just OTK your opponent as quickly as possible because you are summoning a bunch of 4K beat sticks that's going to be able to stop your opponent. You can get all the way up to 100,000 damage in this deck, and I know that sounds like a lot, but it can happen depending on what your opponent does while you have this on your side of the field, because this lets you gain life points equal to the attack of every single monster that they summon. And so they can summon out a lot of cards onto their side of the field and immediately just drop that. And it's like, okay, cool. So let's go ahead and do another test hand and see what we can draw out. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of the Opening of the Spirit Gates, Uriah, Allure, Dark Summoning Beast, and a copy of Dimension Fusion Destruction. So Dimension Fusion Destruction is something that you don't really want to draw. It's a 1-of. So literally the only like brick you play in the deck to draw into, because you want to draw in this later as a recovery card with Verte Anaconda to be able to drop this and banish your Sacred Beast from the graveyard to summon Armatile, from what my experience is. But having the Allure and having the Opening of the Spirit Gates is not bad, because you can normal summon, or you can activate the Opening of the Spirit Gates and then add Dark Beckoning Beast from your deck to your hand, and then activate the copy of the Allure to draw 2, and then you have this on your side of the field, and you have the copy of Dark Beckoning Beast, and you have the Alamirage as well to be able to just link away your copy of the Dark Beckoning Beast on your side of the field, so you had the Spirit Gates to actually be live. So let's go ahead and do one more test hand to see what we can actually pull off. You can actually, with that last test hand, you could get 2 Sacred Beasts out on your side of the field with just that one test hand. So let's go ahead and see what we can draw on this one. So we're going to do Desires, a copy of Yugioh, Awakening, Dark Summoning Beast. I'm getting this every single hand, which is not terrible. And a copy of Fallen Paradise. You don't want to draw Fallen Paradise either, because you can search it with Dark Chaos Summoning Beast, but it's not terrible. So let's go ahead and just play it out and see really quickly what we can get with the copy of Desire. So we're going to go ahead and banish our 10 off the top of our deck, and then immediately draw 2, which is going to get us exactly what we need with the opening of the Spirit Gates and our Dark Beckoning Beast. So the only reason I actually play in this deck, you guys might be wondering, why in the world do you play Desires in this deck? Okay, I'm not a fan of Desires. I'm not a fan of Desires, but I'm going to show you why right now. So the reason I'm not a fan of Desires is because you banish all these cards, but at the same time, look at this. You banished all 3 copies of your Chaos Summoning Beast, okay? So you can't search it, which is fine and all, but you can't get it anymore. So in some places, it's good, and in some places, it backfires, which is the risk you run when you play Pot of Desires. So let's go ahead and see what we can actually pull off with our next test hand. And sometimes you Desires into Desires and you banish all your combo pieces. But in this particular deck, there's not a particular card, and that's the reason I play it in this deck. There's not a particular card that if I banish it, or all 3 copies, that I'm out of the game. I'm totally not out of the game if I banish out all 3 of my copies of my Chaos Summoning Beast. It's fine. I can still play. It's just not the greatest hand that you can actually pull off if you do banish it. But the 2 cards that I did draw made the entire hand playable. So that's why you play it in this particular build, is because it works in this particular build. So let's go ahead and actually play out a test hand. So we're going to draw into a Yugioh right off the bat, which is my favorite. Pot of Desires, another Pot of Desires, and a Dark Beckoning Beast, and a copy of Cerulean Skyfire. So this is not a bad hand at all. What I would first go into is normal summoning out that copy of the Dark Beckoning Beast, because it's going to go ahead and let you search your deck. So go ahead and normal summon out that copy of Dark Beckoning Beast. Go ahead and get what you need. Add from your deck to your hand either the Chaos Summoning Beast or the copy of your Dark. Since you already have this in your hand, you might as well do this. I would go ahead and add from your deck to your hand the copy of Opening of the Spirit Gates, and then immediately activate the Opening of the Spirit Gates to then search your copy of Chaos Summoning Beast. Because that's a big mistake that a lot of people make that I've seen while they're playing this deck. They normal summon this and they think, oh, I just need to search my Fiend. No, you don't search your Fiend. You search the Opening of the Spirit Gates, because then it gets you an additional search and it thins your deck a little bit more. And not only that, you've got a continuous spell to summon Haman if you need to summon Haman, and you also have its additional ability that you can discard a card to be able to, or discard another Fiend monster, discard another monster from your hand, or a Fiend, to special summon a 0 attack, 0 defense Fiend from your deck. So you have the ability to actually get this out and still have your normal summon if you draw your copy of your Dark Summoning Beast off your copy of Desires. So we can't Desire it into Desires because we have 2 in our hands. So let's go ahead and drop that Desires. Well, actually, you can do something a little bit more interesting. Let's go ahead and do it this way. Let's go ahead and use that effect. Discard this card, or actually, let me show you this. Go ahead and link this away, and link into your copy of Alamirage. So once you make the Alamirage on your side of the field, you've got a legal target in the graveyard. So we're going to go ahead and discard this, and then immediately bring it back. So you're discarding it, bringing it back. That's totally fine because you had a legal target in the graveyard. So what we're going to do at this point is you're going to have this on your side of the field, tribute it, summon Yugioh. So now that we have Yugioh on the field, we can then activate our copy of Desires, and then immediately banish the top 10 right there. Or excuse me, don't activate Desires yet. I'm getting messed up. Let's go ahead and banish our copy of Chaos Summoning Beast, and then search from the deck. Wow, all 3 Desires, or all 3 of Allure are like stuck together right there. That would have been a really good hand. Let's go ahead and search our Fallen Paradise, because you don't want to banish both your copies of Fallen Paradise, because if you do banish both your Fallen Paradise, then your copy of Chaos Summoning Beast is in a bad way. So now you have the copy of this. You have 4 draws in your hand. So go ahead now and activate your copy of Desires and banish the top 10 off the top of your deck. And once you banish the top 10 off of your deck, which we're just going to sit right there, you get to draw 2 off the top of the deck, which is going to be a deck lockdown and a copy of Chaos Summoning Beast, which is really good. Activate the copy of Fallen Paradise, and then draw 2 off the top of your deck, which is going to be a Raviel and a copy of Dark Beckoning Beast. Now you can activate deck lockdown on your opponent as well, because the deck lockdown is going to really protect your monsters on your side of the field. And you can activate Cerulean Skyfire, which is going to help you out a lot as well. Now, if your copy of Uriah does get destroyed, that's totally fine. And your Alamirage gets destroyed, that's again totally fine, because you can put it in defense position when you summon it, which I probably would because I don't have any attack points. And then you go to your next turn and draw, which is going to be a skill drain. So at this point, you can normal summon out your copy of Dark Beckoning Beast, and then now you have the Dark Beckoning Beast on your side of the field. If we didn't banish our copies of Haman, which we didn't, you can add it directly from your deck to your hand. So once you have the Haman in your hand, you can do something really cool to be able to normal summon an additional time, which can be your Dark Beckoning Beast, or sorry, Summoning Beast. Now that you have this on your field, just simply tribute it, and then special summon out your Raviel. Once you have Raviel on your side of the field, you can actually do something really cool to send all these to the graveyard and then summon out your copy of your monster. Or you can do this a little bit differently and use the effect. You could discard a card from your hand because it's a Fiend. Well, it's a Thunder, so you can't do that. Go ahead and discard these, summon out this, and then you have the play where you have 2 of your Sacred Beasts on your side of the field at the exact same time. You have a skill drain in your hand, and if you have the cards in your deck, you can resolve that Other Desires, which let's go ahead and resolve that Other Desires really quickly and send all these to the graveyard, banish all these, and immediately get to draw 2 cards, which you only have 4 cards left in your deck, because this is something that you need to keep in mind. So you're going to go ahead and draw into the Allure and your copy of Exodius, the Ultimate Forbidden Lord. Summon out that Exodius by shuffling the cards that are in your graveyard back into your deck, which is your copy of Uriah, your copy of the Chaos Summoning Beast, Dark Beckoning Beast, and your Alamirage. And then now you have both of these monsters on your side of the field. So now if you want to overlay, you can overlay 2 of these into a copy of your Gustav Max and go after your opponent with the Gustav Max engine as well, which is a really cool thing. So you actually get 2 of your 3 summoning 2 of your 3 Sacred Beasts out with that field, and you actually summoned all 3, and you had the skill drain to back you up as well. And you could draw 2 more as well, which I'll show you guys. I forgot to draw Fallen Paradise. If you draw 2 more, you're going to draw into a copy of Deck Lockdown and Opening of the Spirit Gates, which is not going to do anything crazy. You're just going to get to add a Dark Beckoning Beast from your deck to your hand, which can get you your Uriah out the next turn, which is going to be really, really helpful. So let me move all these. We actually banished like 21 cards in that game, which is crazy. So let's go ahead and do another test hand and see what we can do. This deck is really fun to play around with because you're just basically summoning. The whole point is to summon Haman and Raviel. Like, Uriah is kind of there, but he's kind of just a fusion material, which is unfortunate, to summon out your copy of Armityle. But you can, at some point, summon him out and Night Beam something, which is really, really cool to be able to just Night Beam something and get rid of it on your opponent's side of the field. So let's go ahead and shuffle this up really, really, really good and go ahead and draw on our next hand. So we're going to go ahead and draw, and we're going to get a Chaos Summoning Beast, Raviel, so we can already summon the Raviel. We can get a Dark Summoning Beast, a copy of Deck Lockdown, and a copy of Beckoning Beast, which is a really good hand. Okay, so what we're going to do with this hand is we're going to immediately normal summon out our copy of Beckoning Beast, which is then going to search from our deck to our hand. What do we search? We search Opening of the Spirit Gates. You never, 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 never search our copy of one of your beasts off of that, because this only lets you search monsters, and that actually lets you search anything that you want. So we're going to go ahead and search out of the deck a copy of anything that you really want from your deck at this point, because we have both the Fiends. So I would probably grab from my deck to my hand the copy of the Awakening of the Sacred Beast, because we're going to get 2 of our Sacred Beasts out on our side of the field really easily with this particular hand. It's just going to be really, really cool to be able to get exactly what you need. So at this particular interval, what we're going to do is you can actually normal summon out the copy of the Chaos Summoning Beast onto your side of the field, and then you contribute it on your side of the field to summon out your Raviel. Once you summon out Raviel, you can immediately use its effect to be able to, or not use its effect, but use the copy of the Chaos Summoning Beast to banish itself, and then, actually, don't banish it. Use this effect. Use the effect of the Opening of the Spirit Gates, and then discard this to the graveyard. Oh, I felt a lot of you scream, no, don't do that. But here we go. This is what you do. You discard this, bring it back, tribute it, summon Haman, and once you summon Haman to your side of the field, you have 2 of your Sacred Beasts on your side of the field at this point. Now you can banish both of these, which you're going to go ahead and banish the copy of the Dark Summoning Beast, and we're going to get to add from our deck to our hand a copy of Yugioh, because now we're trying to get all three of them out on our side of the field, if we can. So we're going to go ahead and banish that. Go ahead and banish this and add our copy of Fallen Paradise from our deck to our hand, which is going to protect them, which is really cool. Go ahead and shuffle that deck really quick, and hopefully get Cerulean Skyfire. So we're going to go ahead and activate Fallen Paradise, and then once you activate Fallen Paradise, you're going to get to draw 2, which is going to be a Desires and a Dark Beckoning Beast. Activate the Pot of Desire. See, a lot of this deck is top decking to get your combo pieces. I know that sounds crazy, but it is the way that the deck kind of works. So we're going to go ahead and banish all those cards and draw 2. So once we draw the 2 off the top of the deck, we are going to get, hopefully, the Cerulean Skyfire, and we don't get Cerulean Skyfire, which is totally fine because we can actually summon the other Hamon if we want to, but we're not going to summon that other Hamon because what we're going to do is going to activate... Actually, I'm totally wrong. You can actually go into a crazy play here. Okay, so we're going to activate the copy of 1-for-1, send this to grave, and then if we have a Chaos Summoning Beast, if we didn't banish them both, we can actually summon out Yugioh. So we're going to go ahead and summon out our copy of Chaos Summoning Beast from our deck to our hand. Oh, you can only use this effect once per turn. That's unfortunate. I thought it was more than once per turn, so you can't do that. So hold on to your copy of your Beckoning Beast because you can actually summon Yugioh next turn. We're going to hold on to this hand right here, activate your copy of Deck Lockdown, and set this face down because what you're essentially doing is making them untargetable and they can't be destroyed by battle, they can't be destroyed by card effects, and they also have the ability that they can't add any cards from their deck to their hand except by drawing them for the next 2 standby phases. And when you flip this face up, every time they summon a monster, they're getting the ability... they're making it so they can't draw, like they can't activate any of their monster effects, and they can't also, every time they summon a monster, I gain life points equal to the attack. So if I go into my next turn, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw Foolish Burial, and I'm immediately going to activate the effect of the Spirit Gates, which is going to let me discard, actually I'm going to activate my copy of 1-for-1, and then discard this to the graveyard, or the Hamon, it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to add from deck to hand the Chaos Summoning Beast, summon that to my side of the field, tribute it, and then summon Yugioh. So now we have Yugioh, Hamon, and Raviol on our side of the field going turn 2. And then, because we've already established that we had a really crazy board, at this point you can use Fallen Paradise, or you can use your copy of Foolish Burial to send to graveyard a monster. So we can see, this is also knowledge for this. You see one Cerulean Skyfire right there. And do we have the other one? The other one got banished. So what we're going to do is I'm going to thin the deck a little bit, and I'm going to send my Dark Summoning Beast to the graveyard, and I'm going to immediately banish it and add my Raviol from my deck to my hand. Because I have now 2 of my Sacred Beasts in my hand. That's really, really, really good. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle that deck right back up because we have the Fallen Paradise draw 2. And we're going to immediately draw 2. Actually, we can't search because of this. So that's totally fine. You can't search this off of this banish, but you still get the Foolish Burial, which is, again, totally fine. But now you can just attack your opponent because you have all 3 of these on the field, and your opponent's not going to be able to do much because you're going to be able to go swing, swing, swing. This has 0, but that's totally fine because you're getting the added effect of Macrocosmos on this, where everything that your opponent's going to the graveyard is banished. So, all the monsters. So let's go ahead and do another test hand and see what we can actually pull off. You can still, with that hand, we didn't search because the only thing we couldn't do was actually banish the Dark Summoning Beast to get the copy of Raviol in the hand, which the Raviol was just a deck thin anyways. It was totally fine. So that card still works. I would still send it to the graveyard to deck thin though. But with that field, you still got the Raviol on your side of the field. You still got the Mon Raviol and the Yugioh on your side of the field, which is still really, really cool that you can get all 3 of them out on the field at once. So let's go ahead and do another test hand and see what we can pull off with this last test hand. So for the last one, we're going to go ahead and draw into an Exodios. We're going to draw a Cerulean Skyfire, Raviol, Chaos Summoning Beast, and Opening of the Spirit Gates, which is really good. Go ahead and activate that Opening of the Spirit Gates. And we're immediately going to add from our deck to our hand a copy of Dark Beckoning Beast, which is then going to normal summon out, and we're going to get our copy of the Dark Summoning Beast, which is really good to be able to get out of the deck because you're going to immediately get it out on the field really, really easily because you're going to bypass that tributing effect with the copy of the Opening of the Spirit Gates. So what we're going to do is you are going to immediately normal summon out this, because this gives you an additional normal summon. Tribute this on your side of the field. Special summon the Raviel. So you have Raviel out on the field. That's one. We're then going to use the effect of opening of the Spirit Gates. We're going to put this over here so we can put them all together, if we actually get them all together. We're going to immediately, after this goes, I just yeeted that card over there, but we got it back. So we're immediately going to banish the effect. We're going to immediately discard this to the graveyard, and then bring it right back, because you can discard a Fiend monster to bring a monster with 0/0 from your graveyard back to your side of the field. Tribute it on your side of the field, and we're going to summon Haman next. Haman is the one that you really, really want to summon at this point to get out 2 of them, because you really want to get out 2 of them as quickly as possible, because you have a negation in your hand with the Cerulean Skyfire in your hand. So now that you have that on your hand, you can pretty much just activate the Cerulean Skyfire. If you want to make an XYZ play, you can. If you want to get Fallen Paradise, let's go ahead and banish this from the graveyard. This is a basic combo for the deck. You're going to go ahead and banish that, and then add your copy of Fallen Paradise from your deck to your hand, just so we can kind of deck thin a little bit, and activate that card as soon as you get a hold of it. And then banish your copy of the Dark Summoning Beast, and we're going to go ahead and add from our deck to our hand our Uriah, because I really want to summon Uriah too. So we're going to go ahead and grab that Uriah from our deck to our hand, and shuffle up that deck one more time, and hopefully we can draw something to help us summon it, or the copy of the Awakening. So we're going to go ahead and draw 2, and we get Cerulean Skyfire and a deck lockdown. So we're going to go ahead and activate that deck lockdown, because we're not going to go into the deck anymore, and we have plenty of ways to stop our opponent, because these can't be targeted or destroyed, which is really cool. And the Cerulean Skyfire gives us a negation, so we have that way too by swapping them on defense position, which is going to happen on our opponent's turn. And we get the backup Cerulean Skyfire. So we go into our next turn, which we're going to go ahead and draw. We're going to draw into the Dark Summoning Beast, which you can then tribute. Summon it out to your side of the field, and then you can tribute it to special summon a Haman, Uriah, or a Raviel, ignoring its summoning conditions from your hand or deck. So we're going to tribute it, and we're immediately going to summon Uriah. So you got all 3 on the field right there. And then you can immediately draw 2 with Fallen Paradise, which is going to be an Allure and a copy of the Potted Desires. Drop the Desires. Let's just keep extending really quickly, because why not? We're going to go ahead and banish these from the deck right there. And we're going to draw 2. So we're going to draw 2 off the top of the deck, which is going to be a Pot of Desires. See, your Desires into a Desires. And then we're going to drop the Allure of Darkness and draw 2 more. And draw into an Upstart and a deck lockdown. I'm going to banish the Exodius, because I don't feel like I'm going to need it. And I'm going to drop the copy of Upstart Goblin, because you can still draw with the copy of deck lockdown. You just can't add from deck to hand. So you can still do that. You just can't search. So we're immediately going to draw into a Fallen Paradise, which is totally fine. At this point, you have the deck lockdown as well. So you have plays that you can actually go off with. So that's it for the test hands, guys. We did actually summon all 3 of our copies of the Sacred Beasts, which is really, really cool. I'm really proud that I actually summoned them twice. The deck is easy to summon all 3 of them like this, to be able to get all 3 of your Sacred Beasts on your side of the field. Hopefully, eventually, they'll do a deck where you can actually summon all the God cards like that, and just immediately just dump that on the field and be able to summon all 3 of them, because they're really good cards, but they're not insane anymore like they've been. I'm not going to say the gods have been power crept. I'm not going to say it. So, anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely tell me what you think of this video down in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.